Hey, and welcome back to GirlChatSports. We are on episode 24, I believe. Is actually 24.
24.
Hey, my name is Melissa. I am one of your hosts, and with me, of course...
It's Stephanie.
Don't sound so excited, Stephanie. Anyways, we are back. We are here to bring you some interesting sports tidbits as usual. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Realize we are not estheticians, and we like to just enjoy the games of sports and the different things that we can have interest in. So please don't come here looking for stats. We have a few, but not a lot. We also want to shout out to the guys at In the Zone who will provide us with our commercial break coming up in a few minutes. Coming up on the show, however, we're talking a lot of football. Week 3 was kind of crazy. We discuss a little bit of Odell Beckham Jr., some Seahawks, some Cowboys. We have to represent both of our teams, of course.
Yes, indeed.
Some college football, some Major League Baseball news, some sad moments, and a couple, interesting moments as well. And of course, for all the ladies and gentlemen who may like it as well, we do have Arms of the NFL for this week as well. Let's just get to it, I guess. So what I'll start off with, it was like the first note I had because I saw this thing come across my phone with an alert. It was the Bengals got hypnotized. And I was thinking, did they just lose their game? I couldn't quite remember where it was or when I got the alert, but I was like, did they just lose like crazy? No, it was the Cincinnati Bengals actually got hypnotized in training camp. I don't have the hypnotizer's name off me, but we just watched it. I mean,
hilarious.
If you haven't do it, you guys have to Google Bengals get hypnotized. There's a guy who hypnotized about, I'd say 6 or 8 of the guys, one of them including Adam Pac-Man Jones. And he had them thinking that napkins were $100 bills and they were going crazy off the money. They thought they had puppets. They were supposed to be lip syncing to puppets. So one of them
puppets,
was it Gwen Stefani or something when Pac-Man Jones, I don't know, it was hilarious. Those are the kind of things that I wish that we could see more of. How you watch Hard Knock Life, the Hard Knocks on HBO in regards to training camp. I wish we could see more in depth into many different teams during spring training. That's baseball. In regards to preseason.
True. Well, and it kind of just gives you an idea of their personality and stuff like that, too. I actually enjoy watching Lakers season following them, and so they had just had their first episode of their show, and it's just nice to get to know the players. And
so the Lakers have a show right now? I don't think I knew this.
Yeah. So they follow them the whole entire season. So it's interesting to watch from draft day through the whole entire season.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is that new? I don't think I've ever. Well, because of course I'm not a Laker fan, so of course I wouldn't know. But I guess let me know so I could maybe look into it or read up on. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's called Backstage Lakers. It's been around for a minute.
Oh, so yeah, you get to see players in kind of not in their element. I mean, they're basically, you watch them, when we were watching Hard Knocks this summer, we're watching the guys driving through, they were staying at some hotel, or they were staying on campus at, I don't know if it was USC or not exactly, but they were staying on campus and they have golf carts roaming around, flipping them over. They're just going through In-N-Out, getting In-N-Out burgers in their golf carts, just doing regular stuff, but it's funny to see their regular sides and not just who they are behind a helmet or how many hits they're doing or their stats and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, I'm sure that you can agree after seeing a little video about Dak Prescott and his love for his mom who passed away of cancer. I think you got a little more respect for my boy.
Tell him about the video that you sent.
Yeah, well, I guess that Dak Prescott's mother passed away, I believe, about 3 years ago from cancer. But he actually still calls her before the game, every game, just to, kind of get an idea of what he's going to do for that day, and it just encourages him. And I think it was just very sweet that he still talks to his mom.
I loved it. Yeah, he sends her texts and is like, "Hey mom, today I want to go out there and run the world and do whatever." And I love it. My dad who passed away last year, his number, I have his number now, but his phone contact is still on my phone. I don't think anybody who loses a parent, they still have that special bond. So I really respected Dak for hearing that. And here's the deal. We all know I hate the Cowboys, but I've even told a couple of friends of mine, even through Facebook and Facebook messages and sports groups, I don't hate the Cowboys, but I really love Dak and Zeke. I'm all for the Dak and Zeke show, and as long as they don't completely ruin it for my playoffs or my fantasy football. I am all about Dak and Zeke for the season.
Yeah, well, speaking of Cowboys, since we're talking about it, since Dak's been doing so well, I've heard a lot of people say, and even ask me, that if when Tony Romo comes back, are you going to give him the starting position, or are you going to stick with Dak? And to be honest with you, I think that Tony will start when he's ready to start. As long as Dak is still playing well, we'll just have to see. I think that it is still Tony Romo's team, and right now, period, Tony is still the better quarterback. So we'll just have to see. I think Tony will come back when he's ready.
Do you think Tony was the better quarterback or is the better quarterback?
If he could stay healthy, I still believe that he's the better quarterback. But, we're happy with the replacement that we have at this
you
time.
guys really lucked out with this one.
We did, really. We really did, yeah.
Coming from a Seattle's perspective now, with us facing Russell Wilson having a possible knee sprain and maybe not playing this weekend, it's kind of like, wait a minute, we have to have a backup? Like, who thinks that kind of stuff? But we have Trevon Boykin, who I really do love as far as backup. But not to change subjects, because the Cowboys, that Tony Romo thing, we all know that when Dak started, he basically said, this is Tony's team. I'm just stepping in to fill the void until he comes back. But at some point, 3-0 is okay. Okay, you're 3-0. Yeah, when they come back, if you're 5 or 3-5, let's put Tony Romo back in. But let's say God forbid you're 6-2 or 8-1. If he's proved that he's winning these games, are you gonna throw Tony in there and just let him have at it and lose the game for you guys off the bat?
Well, we're 2-1, even though I don't really like to admit it. But yeah, I would say that as long as Tony either proves himself to still be doing well, or if, eventually he just decides that it's time to give up the position, that I think that it is his team until proven otherwise.
So then let's change the subject to Dez, because Dez is another guy that, I think in Tony Romo's time was getting a lot of play, was getting a lot of targets. Come to Dak, and he's not really seeing that. Plus, he's also dealing with a couple injuries, possibly.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen if he's even going to play this weekend due to his right knee being injured. So we'll have to see. He's, Dak's going to have to get used to throwing it a little more to Witten or somebody if we should happen to lose him.
I would love to have Witten get the ball. He is on one of my fantasy teams, and he's been just barely pushing by. If he could get a touchdown or two, I would love that. Just side note to Dak, if you're out there listening, we'd appreciate it. And other football news. So we're talking about Dak. We've talked about the rookie quarterbacks last episode a little bit. This time we still got, okay, so we had we had Brissett playing for the Patriots, and that's because Brady's still on a 4-game suspension. This will be his last week this weekend. Garoppolo was injured last weekend, so Brissett played and he won.
Yeah, but he's also injured as well, so they're still trying to figure out who's going to start.
It's Julian Edelman.
I know that we talked about this before, but they aren't even talking about him being next. I literally think they're going to play Brissett this Sunday, even if he's not quite.
Well, they're swearing up and down. It's going to be Garoppolo or Brissett. One of them has to be healthy enough. It's not so much that, hey, we're 100% ready to go. It's healthy enough just to get by for 1 week till we can get Pretty Tom back in the driver's seat.
Yeah. I think it says a lot for Belichick, too, that he's still winning when they're down to, their fourth string quarterback at this point.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what... Seahawks lose their key running back last year, and it's all hell breaks loose this season with no running back. But... I couldn't imagine you lose to Tom for 4 games and they're going to be, if they're 4-0 and Tom comes back, then you're wondering, well, shoot, maybe Tom doesn't need to come back right away. Tom, if you're out there, do you want to hang out with Giselle a little bit longer? I'm not sure what's going on.
You're running out of people at this point, so.
Pretty soon, shoot, Belichick's going to have his hood up in there throwing balls himself. So that was interesting. Another rookie quarterback we discussed before was Carson Wentz. Carson's now 3-0.
Wow.
Along with the Patriots, but Carson, rookie quarterback, second pick of the NFL draft, which we still have yet to see the first pick of the NFL draft play yet. Jared Goff is still playing bench duties for LA, even though they kind of are crappy. But Carson Wentz, I mean, they beat the Steelers.
Man, and they gave him a beat down. I kind of felt sorry for Ben.
I felt sorry for Ben, Antonio Brown, both of them I had on my fantasy league. I had friends that had D'Angelo, nothing. I mean, there was no points to be given whatsoever by anybody on the Steelers.
Yeah, it was a sad show for sure.
It was real, and I just sat there like, wait a minute. Because honestly, you could sit here and talk about the Philly, but not everybody knows, like, who are their options? Who are their targets? There's not many that people know off bat. And Carson Wentz is just throwing these balls, and they're winning games. Granted, maybe he'll have more of a test throughout the year, but that's 3-0. Want to talk about who's not 3-0? The Saints.
This is crazy to me.
The Saints with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is 0-3.
Sad sight.
Did you ever think that you'd be like, hey, we're 3 games into the season, and guess what? The Saints haven't won a game.
Not at all. And I was listening to some podcast this morning, and they were talking about, do you think the season is over for the Saints? And I know that they're 0-3, but I still think that there's a lot of games to be played. So, all hope is not lost third weekend.
Definitely. I think one of their issues, though, is their defense. Unless you were under a bridge or maybe you were too busy watching the debate, Monday Night Football did take place, and the Saints were visited by the Atlanta Falcons, who crushed them. I mean, Atlanta's like one of the only teams that has a split running back. They're splitting touches between 2 running backs. So we've got Devontae Freeman and Coleman, and they both ran for at least, I think Coleman had 3 touchdowns and Freeman had 2 touchdowns. That's 5 touchdowns total by your running backs.
Man.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So the Saints have no defense, and to sum up, and if you ever playing a running back against the Saints defense in fantasy football, I suggest you just do that. Run anybody that has some kind of power, because if you're playing the Saints, there's no doubt that you'll be getting some points scored there.
Speaking of being crushed, Cam Newton, was that a sorry sight? I couldn't bear to see him continually get knocked down.
Here's the deal. The Panthers are 1-2, I think.
I don't even know.
I want to say they're 1-2, and that's a team that you never would have thought would be starting the season off like this. Yeah, because they lost. I honestly, I can't. There's certain teams that okay, like the Browns are 0-3. Okay, I get that. The Bears are 0-3. Yeah, I can kind of get that. The Jags are 0-3. Okay, the Saints, I can't. Now, the only ones that we have that are 3-0 are the Patriots, Ravens, Vikings, and Broncos. Out of those 4 teams, which last year at this time there was, I think, 6 or 8 teams that were 3-0, so we've already changed things up a bit this year with all, I think, the injuries and such. But of those 4 teams, all 3 of them have new quarterbacks. 2 being rookies. So Broncos and Patriots. Vikings just got Sam Bradford, so he's not a rookie, but he's new to their team. And then Ravens got Falco. But other than that, they're all 3-0. I don't know. It blows my mind. In some other football-related news, I don't know if you guys watched the Mortal Kombat episode between Odell Beckham Jr. and a soccer net.
This guy plays with emotion. Earlier in the week, I remember hearing somebody say that, it's a distraction to the team and whatnot. But then, most articles lately are saying that they actually stand behind him and they understand, where his passion is coming from. But man, the guy, just embarrassed himself getting hit by the kicking net after crushing his helmet into it.
It was almost, and I honestly don't even remember what happened on the play. I just remember turning back to the TV, flipping through all the stations, and such that I was watching, and seeing the highlight of him throwing his helmet and then knocking the pole, and then the pole coming back and just whapping him across the face. Oh, okay, that was really interesting. I just don't get it. But hey, what's not so funny though is that he did get fined $36,000 for blindsiding a block versus the Saints back in week 2. So basically, if he were to have one more dirty play, it's a cause for suspension. Which, I mean, with him, with the last year with Josh Norman, I mean, and then this year with the fine against the Saints, and now if something else, we're only on week 3, going into 4. If something else happens and he gets suspended, how is that affecting the Giants? Even?
Yeah, he needs to calm himself. I think that, like mentors like Victor Cruz and whatnot just, had a chat with him that we support you. And they said that he's a positive influence in the locker room. He's friends with everybody, their family. So they're just, trying to stand behind him to keep him focused.
Well, let's hope so. He kind of reminds me of a girl having a tizzy fit, don't you think? Like, right. You can see him, like that's your niece or your nephew having a temper tantrum right now.
Completely.
Hey, anyways, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get right back to you. We're going to have a little commercial break courtesy of the guys at In the Zone Show and In the Zone Network in regards to their road trip to the Tennessee Titans game. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in 1 second to talk more football, college football, and of course, arms of the NFL.
Get on board for the NFL road trip presented by In the Zone Show, Take a Trip Travel, and Collective Catering. It's the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans in an AFC South rival game from Nissan Stadium in Nashville. You'll get to check out players like Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck, Robert Mathis, and DeMarco Murray. This trip includes a round-trip bus ticket, a one-night hotel stay, a private tailgate party with food, surprises, and giveaways, and of course, a ticket to the game. We depart Saturday, October 22nd, and return after the game on Sunday, October 23rd. Seats are filling up, so contact Malatha Witherspoon today to book your seat at 314-369-7025 or taketriptravel@gmail.com. Get on board for the NFL road trip presented by In the Zone Show, Take a Trip Travel, and Collective Catering.
All right, welcome back to Girl Chat Sports, and thanks again to the guys over at In the Zone Network and In the Zone Show for their big road trip to the Tennessee Titans game in October. Again, thanks again to Arlington Lane, as well as Palmer Alexander. We really appreciate you guys. So before the commercial, we discussed a lot about the NFL. A couple other tidbits that we discussed. I kind of talked about the Seahawks just a little bit. But since that's my team, we can talk about him a little bit more. So Jimmy Graham was finally found. He'd been missing for almost a season and a few games. But last weekend, or this past weekend, Jimmy did get found by Russell on a couple occasions. He scored a touchdown. He was very involved. I think he had double the fantasy points he was projected to have. So I was really happy about that. I had also picked up Christine Michael, who was our running back that we had actually dropped earlier last year, who then played for the Cowboys and another team, and he is actually back, and he's now our starting running back. He had 2 touchdowns, so luckily my fantasy football took off from that. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael.
Good pickup.
Man, it was an awesome pickup. So here's the issue. Today, I get the notification that the Seahawks pick up C.J. Spiller. He was just dropped from the Saints earlier this year. My concern being, he's a running back. We have Thomas Rawls still, who has been injured, but he was supposed to come back like game, week 5 or 6 after. Our bye week is 5, so like week 6. Now that we pick up another running back, I'm thinking, okay, so there's something you guys aren't telling us. I don't like that. I really am a Rawls fan, and I'm pretty upset that the whole fibula injury that he has is kind of messing with him, obviously. And obviously, Pete believes that we need another running back, which is not so great for us. Also, Russell Wilson, like I mentioned before, he sprained his MCL. Russell Wilson hasn't missed a game since 2012.
Wow.
A single game. He hasn't missed a single game. And I don't want him to feel that he has to play this game just so he doesn't break that, which I don't think that's in the front of his mind, maybe in the back. My whole thing is our bye week is week 5. So if we can get him just to rest one game and a bye week, that's 2 weeks, you should be good to go come week 6.
Who's your backup?
What's his name? I just said it. Why can't I think of it offhand? Dang it. Boykin.
Okay.
Trayvon Boykin. He was a rookie quarterback from TCU. He's actually, I consider him like a mini Wilson. The way that he's got footwork just like Wilson, and I guess with our offensive line, which is non-existent, you kind of have to have good footwork, and he does. A side note, too, is that our offensive line, our offensive line first round pick that we did get this last draft was Jermaine Ifedi, and he's actually supposed to be coming back this week, too. He hasn't played yet this season, so we're hoping that could help boost up our offensive line morale a little bit. But yeah, so if Russell, if you're out there not listening to us, but if you are, just take it easy. Don't push yourself to be there, because we don't want you to get even more hurt. Week 4 is nothing compared to week 15. So we want you for week 15. Go ahead and take that break now. I think it's crazy because there's so many injuries.
Yeah, it's really a lot. And I guess, it's given an opportunity for a lot of rookies to shine, is what I'm seeing.
A lot of rookies are shining. I mean, a lot of them are, I just keep going back to fantasy. It's affecting fantasy like nobody's business. I mean, people that, swear up and down they're having great games or great seasons are now like, wait a minute. And they're having to go into and finding these people, finding rookies or people that are sleepers that maybe they never thought twice about, but now are getting put in a situation like, here, now you're a starting, like, Chris, no one thought Christine Michael was going to be the starting running back for Seattle. And what do you know? He came out with, I think, 3 times the fantasy projected points he was supposed to have.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of surprises this season. It's been interesting.
Yeah, a lot of surprises. Kind of like Greg Hardy getting arrested for cocaine possession.
Which is not a surprise at all. Man, I'm telling you, the Cowboys, we give a chance to a lot of people, and it seems like it never works in our favor.
That's just so interesting. And while I was looking, of course, after that story, the very next story was this guy, the offensive lineman Alvin Bailey from the Browns. He gets arrested for like a DUI. He's got drug offenses. Like, there's 7 charges he has with like paraphernalia,
drinking on the plane,
and then he admits to drinking on the team plane. Who does that? You guys all just taking back shots after the game because you suck. I mean, you're 0-3, so you're not celebrating anything. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, the last little tidbit I had, too, was, so I found this hilarious. The 49ers, their first-round pick, Anthony Davis, he announced that he's retiring again. So he retired already once. But
second time in 2 years?
Yeah, so second time's a charm, I guess, or does he have the option to come back? It's so funny. I just...
Man, speaking of retiring, NBA, a lot of these great players are calling it quits.
So when I heard that Paul Pierce, who I do love, I loved Paul Pierce for the Celtics. I thought he did amazing for them. I've been a fan of his, per se. However, when he did it, I call it he pulled a Kobe. Because he announced this season during Media Day that he was going to be retiring after the end of the season.
Come on, what I just have to say that every single game that Kobe played during his retirement year, he got the praise that he deserves. So I don't have anything against it. I honestly think that he deserves for every single game for people to give him the love and, to have that feeling of this is my last game here and people cheering for him. So I don't have a problem with his retirement year that he's coming up on.
I guess I'm just more so like, really? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like set back from it because it just, for me, me and my Kobe hate is so real and it's so at 100, 24/7. So when I heard that, I was like, really, this guy's going to pull a Kobe and now he's going to get the whole Kobe.
Well, I mean, he could just do it like Kevin Garnett, where I'm just done.
Yeah.
And even Mo Williams,
Mo Williams
most recently.
too.
Yeah, just surprising even the Cavs. So I don't know. I kind of think that just saying I'm done and that's it, they just don't really get that last hurrah.
Right. So the NBA did have their media day, so a lot of guys were excited. It seems like Kevin Durant's really excited to get to know his new team. I'm actually going to be going to that game here, the preseason game here in Las Vegas, because every year the LA Lakers come and play 2 exhibition games in Las Vegas. This year it would be the Kings, always the Kings, and then also the the Warriors. So I'm pretty interested to seeing that game and seeing how they all mesh together. But yeah, NBA is on its way. It feels like it hasn't even ended. It feels like the NBA is almost becoming like the hockey now, where it just goes all year round.
Yeah, it's right around the corner, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk a little bit about you, Miss Stephanie.
Man, so I'm really excited because this weekend I'm going to Atlanta, and the reason I'm going is my girlfriend is a huge fan of the Braves, and they're playing their last home games, or their last games period, in Turner Field. So she was looking to go to the games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I thought, I might as well catch along for the ride. So yeah, I booked tickets to see the Braves and the Tigers on Friday night, fireworks night, and they're doing some commemorative things over the weekend.
Nice.
And then I figured since I was in Atlanta, I should take a look and see if the Falcons were playing a home game. So your girl, Stephanie, is going to go see the Panthers and the Falcons play on Sunday.
That is going to be a huge, here's the deal, a huge game. Panthers are 1-2. They need to win that game, but Atlanta has been on fire.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. And I got really decent seats, so I'm pretty excited. Actually, believe it or not, my first NFL game, so I'm pretty excited.
Ooh, did you hear that? It's her first NFL game. So we are going to make sure that Stephanie is snapping for Girl Chat and uploading some pictures to Instagram for us to give us the live action out there. I'm really interested in the baseball game as well. Like, I've always kind of been, I don't know what it is. When I was a kid, like Chipper Jones played for the Braves, and I was such a big Chipper Jones. I don't know if it was the smile on this guy or the hair he had. I don't know. He had perfect hair. Anyways, but the Braves game should be also fun. In also regards into baseball, some sad news. So on Sunday, Marlins, one of their two-time All-Star pitchers, Jose Fernandez, he was actually found dead after a boating accident in Miami. It basically took the sport, I mean, not even just the baseball world, but the sports world by storm. It happened early Sunday morning. They actually canceled their game for that day. I mean, it really hit, when you watch the press conferences with the team, I was getting teary-eyed. I was crying.
It's heartbreaking.
These guys, what's one thing that I see more so, I think, sometimes in baseball than in other sports, is that they have this camaraderie. It's like a family, because they're really they're on the road for 80 some games, and so they're really together so much longer than other sports teams and other leagues and stuff like that. And they have this camaraderie with each other, and these guys were heartbroken. I mean, tears were falling from their faces.
It's just especially heartbreaking because he's only 27 years old, like he was really just coming into his prime. And sadly enough, his girlfriend is pregnant, I believe, with their first child.
Yeah.
So it's just heartbreaking to think that someone so young, even the other people that died in the crash as well, they were all between the age of 24 and 27. So that's far too young to lose somebody so great.
Yeah, they had showed a picture he had posted on his Instagram. It was of his girlfriend pregnant with the baby, and it was just like, that's just so crushing that they have this full life, and he's so excited about the birth of a child and being able to be a father. And next thing you know, it's like, life is too short. We never realize how long we're here for. You never know when your time is called to head upstairs. And that's one thing that was just so heartbreaking, was seeing how these other players for the Marlins were affected by it. The very next day, which was Monday, after they canceled the Sunday game, they actually played Monday. And they played against the Mets, who were headed to the playoffs or in the playoff race. And they actually did a lot of different things. They got the whole mound with the number 16. They put hats on the mound of his. Everybody on both teams had things scribbled on their hats or their shoes or their jerseys. Everybody on the Marlins wore number 16 with Fernandez on the back. And it was just very honoring. And one thing that was almost angelic, or almost you wanted to see the lights and the arms welcoming you into heaven, was D. Gordon actually batted right-handed, which he's a lefty, batted right-handed initially for the very first pitch in honor of his friend Jose Fernandez, and actually he did one pitch that way. The second pitch he batted left, and on that very next pitch he hit a home run. It was his very first home run for the season, and he even said that I've never hit that far, even in my life, ever. So it was it was almost like his boy was upstairs, hey, I got you, here you go. Thanks for, keeping tabs on me and for, being there. So it was very, I still get kind of choked up thinking about it. Like, it was just so inspiring to see how close these guys are and just how much they really put forth into making sure that, everybody remembered him well.
Yeah, on a lighter note, in baseball, Tim Tebow.
We said baseball, not football, baseball.
Man, he played his first game today and hit a home run on the first pitch or something like that in the instructional league?
Instructional league for the Mets. He hit a home run. I don't know if their fields are a little bit, that's something I don't know, is if their fields are a little bit different as far as length for home runs or not. But that's kind of impressive. Not knowing if that's going to be a thing for the future. Maybe we'll see him in the big leagues one day. I know that he does have some nice buns of baseball, so that would be bad to watch, I guess. And hey, maybe he'll have his calling somewhere else in the diamond and not the actual 50-yard line.
If you could see me now, I'm Tebowing in his honor.
You guys have to be careful because the Tebowing is going to be back in style soon. Watch. A last-minute little tidbit of college football news before we head into Arms of the NFL and leave you guys for the day. My Huskies, yes, University of Washington Huskies. We were at 8 and then 9, and now we're at 10, only because we've been playing some crappy teams. We did beat the Arizona Wildcats in overtime, however. They got this quarterback. His name is Dawkins. This guy is running around. He almost is kind of like a little Wilson / I don't know, Ben Roethlisberger all in one. Like, he's bulldozing people over, but then he's also running like crazy. So keep an eye out for him. However, our running back, Levon Coleman, he had 181 yards, which was ridiculous. So next up, which is our biggest test for this season, we play Stanford, who's number 7. So they're actually ahead of us in the AP poll. We play them in Seattle at UW. So we're hoping to kind of show these guys in the college football world that we mean business. The Huskies are here. We're trying to make an imprint, make a name for ourselves, and just show out. So that will be interesting. The other thing, LSU finally got rid of their coach Les Miles, which, I mean, I know LSU's been struggling in some years, but I never thought that he would leave. So they got this new coach, and I was listening to him. I don't really know him too well. Ed Orgeron. He's the interim coach. His voice sounds like this, like he was smoking a lot of cigars in his life. So and that's all I could think about when I heard him was this raspy voice. I'm thinking, does he like yell out calls this time? I don't know. So that should be interesting for LSU. I've never seen too many we all hear about colleges starting over, but this is only after like week 4. So they're going to week 5 with an interim coach. So we should see how that goes. Alabama is still number 1 too. And I think they're a great team. However, they got rid of like 10 players in the draft this last year, yet they're still number 1.
Wow.
That's recruiting. I want to know who their recruiters are, because you're getting top guys. Like, these are guys that, were riding the bench last year, but they're so good, they're now keeping you number 1.
Awesome.
So, shout out to Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan. They're all still there in the top 5. And now, for a last little jingle of the day, Arms of the NFL. Number 1 of the arms would be Levante David. He's number 54. For all the ladies out there that are just getting to know football, feel free to write down these numbers, and you can look them up in the games this weekend. He's a linebacker for the Bucks. He has some amazing arms. Yes. And the second person would be Melvin Ingram. He's also a linebacker. There's something about linebackers. Let me just side note this real quick. Linebackers have great arms. Like, there are things with wide receivers. They're usually a little bit taller, a little more lanky. They don't really have great muscle mass in their arms. But linebackers, running backs, they've got it. So anyways, Melvin Ingram, linebacker for the Chargers. And then a little TBT action would be my boy Jamal Anderson from the Falcons. Sorry, Jamal Anderson from the Falcons. He was a great running back. He might have gotten into a couple disputes of issues in the legal field since then. However, his arms, I'm sure, are still great. So that's it, you guys. We have wrapped up another episode of Girl Chat Sports. please tune in, share us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat. It's at GirlChatSports. We're going to be here on SoundCloud and Podomatic with our podcast. We are hopefully going to be doing the Facebook Live here soon from the Girl Chat Sports page. So keep an eye out for that. Feel free to follow Steph. Steph, give me your information.
You can find me on all the social media platforms, S_wash.
And you can find me, Melissa, at Seattle, 4_life, Life. So Seattle for life. Again, thanks you guys for coming and listening to us and taking the time. Feel free to email me or Stephanie, Melissa at GirlChatSports or Stephanie at GirlChatSports if you have any ideas for our shows, topics, any other things, or maybe if you want to get a t-shirt and wear it in sport for us so that we can post it on our social media. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another great episode of Girl Chat Sports. And remember, we don't have balls, but we know how to cover them. Until next time, guys.